So we're going to do some mindfulness meditation, working towards a four-stage structured mindfulness of breathing. But in the first place, let's just make sure that we're comfortable. So you want to be feeling that you're on top of your sitting bones, and that if you relax your torso, that if you find that your spine bows out backwards and curves, you're going to need a little bit more height under you. So a rolled up towel or blanket or a yoga block or an old fashioned telephone directory or something. They usually work quite well. Some big books. If you don't, yeah, rolled up blankets work really well. On the other hand, if you find that that your belly is pushed forwards, then you probably don't want to be quite so high. You want the pelvic bowl. If you can imagine the pelvic bowl filled with water, that it wouldn't be spilling forwards or backwards. And you might want to just rock ever so gently forwards and backwards on your pelvic bowl, on your sitting bones. It's rocking on the sitting bones very gently, just a few centimeters of movement in the torso. Give the shoulders a little wiggle. Give the rib cage and the belly a little wiggle. Just to get everything settling so that the weight can drop into the pelvis and the spine can find a place to be easily upright. So just take a quiet minute to sit and do nothing. And if you're running around finding blankets, towels, telephone directories, don't worry, do what you need to do. There's no rush. And if you're already in a comfortable sitting place, it's also okay to sit on a chair, by the way. You might just want to put a cushion behind your back and not lean back into the back of the chair. Again, try and keep yourself on top of the sitting bones, with the spine rising easily through its natural curves towards the skull. And seeing if it's possible to really allow the legs. Is it possible to allow the legs to rest? If you're sitting cross-legged and then the knees don't reach the floor, just make sure that the hips aren't tense as a consequence. And again, this is another function of having the pelvis balanced, is it allows the hips to soften and relax. Hands either resting on the legs, or I sometimes do this thing. I like to roll up a blanket and rest my hands on it here, and I've got space between my elbows and my rib cage. It just makes it stops my shoulders pulling forward. If I've got my hands just hanging in my lap, it pulls my shoulders forward. So I'm just gonna, but just resting the hands on the legs is good too. I quite often do that. So nothing to do, nowhere that you need to go, nobody to be. And something about enjoying the relief of letting go of anything that we don't need to be doing right now. So, using a relaxed but kindly attention, the kind of attention that you might use when listening to a good friend talk to you. Notice, is it possible to notice? Is it possible to have a direct felt sense of contact with the underneath surfaces, with your seat, with the floor perhaps? What is underneath, and what kind of sensations are created in the body mind? How are the feet? How are the feet? Perhaps toes touching each other, texture of clothing, socks maybe, slippers, contact with floor, toes, feet, heels, ankles. No need to think about any of this. Taking awareness through body mind directly. How are the shins and calves? Maybe they're touching the ground. Maybe you're sitting on a chair and they're vertical. Then the different textures of the clothing on the lower leg may be different from the feet. Different felt sense of contact. More muscle than the feet. How is that different? Noting tension, relaxation, warmth, coolness, mass, volume. Knees. How are the knees? Softly and comfortably folded, perhaps. Toes, feet, heels, ankles, shins, knees, thighs. Is it possible to include a felt sense of the thigh bones, the femur, extending from knees to hips, deep into the pelvis, and the large muscles around the bones. How's the pelvis? How is the pelvis? How are the sitting bones? How is the base of the pelvis supporting the weight? Is the weight evenly balanced on the sitting bones? Is there a sense of balance between the pubic bone and the tailbone? Is it possible to soften the hips just a little bit more? Feet, ankles, shins, knees, thighs, pelvis. Is it possible to keep a full sense of the whole lower body at once? The mass, the volume, a world of sensation and feeling. Checking that awareness is gentle and kind. Awareness moving up the torso, perhaps. Belly. How is the belly? How is the lower back, the lumbar spine? All of the organs gently moving with the breath. How much movement in the belly is caused by breathing? Where is the breathing happening? Is it in your belly and your lower back? Is it in the rib cage? Is it in the upper back? Allowing awareness to spread and noticing whatever we become aware of in the body tends to relax, tends to ease. Perhaps awareness is enough to ease that tension. Ribs, thoracic spine, heart, lungs, diaphragm moving. Clarity and precision on one hand, gentleness and kindness on the other. How are the shoulders? Clavicle, shoulder girdle, collarbone, shoulder blades, shoulder socket. Complex array of bones. Can they just rest? Simply resting. And that resting of the shoulders continuing down the upper arm to the elbow. from the elbow through the forearm to the wrist, and from the wrist extending into the hands and fingers. So much information in the hands, so many sensations and feelings in the hands. Enjoying noticing. Is it possible to have a felt sense of the whole body at once from the neck down? The mass, the volume, the sensations, the feelings. And moving up through the neck and throat into the head, the skull. Is it possible to measure the weight of hair resting on the scalp? How heavy is the hair? How heavy are the ears? Is it possible to allow the ears to rest? No need to hold the ears onto the head. How is the face? Is there an expression on the face? How is the forehead? Sense of space, the volume of the space of the forehead between the temples, through the eyebrows into the eyes. Is it possible to soften the eyes deep, deep in the sockets? Even the optic nerve resting. Nothing to do, nothing to see. How is the nose and the cheeks and the jaw? Is it possible to have a sense of the volume of mouth and tongue? The chin. Is it possible to have a felt sense of the whole body all at once? Breathing. Resting easy. And whilst maintaining an easy sense of the whole body, if the mind wanders, try to notice and bring yourself back to the body. This is the work. This is the workout. Exercising the muscle of present moment attention. We exercise that muscle that every time the mind wanders, we bring it back patiently and persistently without judgment. No need to judge ourselves. Maintaining a felt sense of the whole body at once. Now allow the foreground of your attention to rest in particular on the sensations that are caused by breathing. Which are the sensations and the feelings caused by the movement of breath? Maintaining a full sense of the whole body in the background, becoming mindful of the breath in the foreground. Where is the breath happening? And how do you know that? And how is the duration of the breath? Let the breath be as it is. No need to change the breath. It's not a breathing exercise, it's a mindfulness exercise. Just let the breath be. See if it's possible to notice the location and the duration of each breath. Noticing how the next breath is different from the last breath, perhaps. So we have clarity and precision, as well as gentleness and relaxation. And then for a few breaths, just for a short while, particularly noticing the end moment of the out breath. When does the out breath come to an end? We're just exercising a little bit of clarity, a little bit of precision. Where exactly does the out breath end? And try not to change the breath. And just to watch the breath is to change the breath, but let's let it rise and fall naturally. We're just noticing, where's the end of the out breath? Just like that really curious, gentle question. Where's the end of the out breath? Is it possible to notice any change in your body mind, in your state, that arises from noticing the end of the out breath? Is anything different? And then for a few breaths, we're going to switch and try to notice the exact moment of the beginning of the in-breath. Noticing that exact moment where the in-breath begins. The inhale. Where's its starting point? Again, letting the breath be easy and natural. And does this change the state at all? Does this change how you're noticing? And just rest. Maybe take the next 3 breaths to gradually open your eyes and come back into the space that you're in. Okay, so just take a minute or two just to stretch your legs. You can carry on sitting if you want. If anybody wants to ask any questions or share anything, just unmute yourself. So, yeah, so the various components of mindfulness, there's the sort of modern definition of deliberately paying attention non-judgmentally and consistently to something in particular. Yeah, so that's a pretty good definition. I think as far as having a meditation practice goes, we're sort of looking for this present moment attention, but also there's also a sense of being recollected. That there's a continuity that comes with the mindfulness. Um, the ancient Indian word that we use that we translate into mindfulness, the etymological root of that word has connotations of memory. So I think present moment attention that is recollected is important, and that another facet of that is that Mindfulness is supported by clearly knowing what it is that's happening. So there's a clarity and precision, and then there's a present moment attention that's very relaxed and at ease. So they're like, you get a nice balance between those things. And then there's also a third thing, a little bit of wakefulness that's just like, uh, well, the part that notices when the mind wanders. That part needs to kind of be a little bit discriminating. It's not judgmental. It's just like, oh right, I'm thinking about my holidays that I'm going to have to cancel. So oh, hang on, I'm doing the mindfulness of breathing. Let's come back. And I think the more you meditate, the more you get used to the idea that it's a meditation practice. You practice so that you can begin to meditate. Uh, so mostly what we're doing is strengthening the meditation muscle when we do these kind of meditations. And by the end of the meditation, just as if you were working out in the gym and you were pulling some weights, by the end of the session, you feel like, yeah, I'm getting better at this. I'm better at the end than I was at the beginning. I'm warmer, I'm pumped, I'm whatever. I don't like going to the gym, but hopefully that metaphor stands. And it's the same thing, after sort of sitting and meditating for a while and continuously bringing ourselves back to the present moment, that muscle does get stronger. But just as on the first day in the gym, we don't try and lift 200 kilos. We don't try and lift too much in the body mind. We just just very gently coming back, coming back, coming back. So we've got this 4-stage practice that I promised that we do, and it's very, very simple. So we did a little bit of noticing the end of the out breath and the beginning of the in breath, and so that's part of the structure. So the first stage, and we'll do this for 3 or 4 minutes, we're just going to use counting to help stabilize the mind. So we breathe in, we breathe out, and at the end of the out breath, we put a count. 1. Easy, simple, natural breathing. There's the end of the out breath. 2. Breathe in, breathe out. 3. Right, so we're just putting 1 count per breath at the end of the out breath. We're marking the end of the out breath. It's not a counting exercise. It's a mindfulness exercise. If you lose count, don't worry. Just go back to 1. If you get to 10, go back to 1. If you find yourself counting 336, 337, go back to 1. Stop at 10, go back to 1. Okay, so we're just counting from 1 to 10, putting the count at the end of the out breath. If the counting gets annoying, just stop counting and just mark the end of the out breath in some way. It's very, it's not written in stone. It's just a sort of it's a general sort of principle that goes through the structure. We're sort of settling at the end of the out breath. In the second stage, we shift the count from the end of the out breath to the beginning of the in breath. Right, so actually the count is in more or less the same place. What's changed is that we're adding anticipation. Well, instead of noticing something that's happened, we're noticing something that's about to happen. So here's the end of my out breath. I'm about to breathe in. Here it comes. 1. Breathing in, breathing out. It's turning around. 2. Breathing in. Yeah. So very soft, gentle counting internally. If you get to 10, go back to 1. Yeah. So it's a way. The counting also gives the mind a very simple linear task. Right? So it's easy to notice if your mind wanders because you won't be counting anymore. And sometimes I think, if you never get past 3, each time you get to 3, my mind's wandered again. Yeah. That don't be disheartened. That's actually very good because what it tells us is that you're noticing very soon when your mind wanders. So that would be a good thing. So succeeding in getting to 10 isn't a big deal. The whole thing is about patiently and persistent noticing, coming back to the breath, to the body. Third stage of mindful breathing is just mindful breathing. We let go of the counting, and we're just enjoying the sensations of breath, breathing in, breathing out, trying to stay mindful of the whole cycle of breath, clear, precise, relaxed, gentle, but consistently applying ourselves, bringing some energy into the practice, but being very relaxed about that. The fourth stage, we're just at an element of refinement. We're just going to um, take the foreground of our attention to the place where the breath first enters and last leaves the body. So for me, it's just inside the nostrils, maybe the top of my lip, mustache. Yeah, I can't feel so much there, but you have to figure out it's where you feel the breath first enter and last leave the body. And the thing with this is it's the sensations are quite subtle. They're quite delicate. And that's a really wonderful thing just to kind of pay attention to. It's really gentle. It's very refined, very gentle. We're still present to the whole body, but we just have this little bit of one pointedness. Uh, Sometimes people still have the idea that about meditation's about getting really focused, and this part of the meditation will do that, but it's not just about being focused. It's about taking the whole of ourselves. We're like a mountain. There's a big base, and there is a bit of focus, but it's that focus needs to be supported by the rest of the mountain. Right? The point of the mountain is supported by the base. Our one-pointed noticing of the subtle sensations at the nose is supported by whole body awareness. Okay, I'm whittering on a bit now. So that's it, really. I'll remind you of each of the stages. I'll say quite a bit less, I think, and just let you get on with doing some meditation. So set yourselves up into your posture. Make sure that you're comfortable. We're going to sit for about another 16, 17 minutes or so. And if it all gets too painful, you can you can lie down. It's okay to meditate lying down. It's just harder to stay awake. But there's nothing wrong with falling asleep. But if you're meditating on your bed, maybe stay upright. I can't see where you are, so right. Yes. So meditation posture. If you're very sleepy, maybe meditate with the eyes just a little bit open, just to let a little bit of light in. Otherwise, you can allow the eyelids to fall shut, simplifying the sensory field and noticing how awareness of the body is very much to hand. Just right in there, feeling the base, the uprightness of spine, the movement of the breath, resting the arms, the whole body at once, breathing all 38 trillion cells at once being breathed. And start to notice where the end of the out breath is exactly. Clarity and precision, balanced by gentleness and relaxation, and an overall kindly awareness. And when you're ready, beginning the practice by inserting a count at the exact moment of the end of the out, from 1 up to 10 and then back to 1. Mindfulness of breathing. Just checking in the whole body, breathing, enjoying just the simple paying of attention. And we'll move into the second stage. All we need to do is move the count to the beginning of the in-breath. Every time the mind wanders, patiently and persistently coming back to body and to breath. Moving into the third stage, simply allow the counting to stop and sit mindful of the breath, of the in-breath, the turnaround, of the out-breath, of the turnaround. Don't forget to enjoy the breath. Letting go of anything that we don't need to be doing right now in favor of the simple experience of breath. And moving into the fourth stage, staying grounded in awareness of the whole body, allowing the foreground of attention to rest where the breath first enters and last leaves the body, probably somewhere around the nostrils. Soft, delicate, gentle breath, sensations and feeling. And with the clarity and precision of noticing these subtle sensations, is it possible to relax a bit more? And starting to work towards the end of the meditation, firstly letting go of the breath, returning to mindfulness of the whole body, a general felt sense of body all at once. Sense that you could return to this awareness and at any moment today. It only takes a moment to take a breath and turn our attention towards sensation and feeling of ground, of the dignity of the upright spine, the easy, relaxed posture. And over the next 4 or 5 breaths, just gradually bringing yourself back into the room.